Next up is the segment we call our best thing of the week. And this is the week of celebration at Happening Out Television Network. Not just because it has entered another successful year, but because this is the week when 3 years ago, the world's first live daily LGBTQ plus evening news show came into existence. That show is Queer News Tonight. It was the first LGBTQ plus live daily evening show in history, in the entire world, in history. Originally, it was hosted by myself, Napoleon Plays, and Aaron Darr. The anchors roster grew to include Misty Eyez, Chef Josie, and today more than 100 anchors from all walks of the LGBTQ plus community, including our very own FayWhat, have anchored a revolutionary queer news show that moved in February and March of 22 to Roku and Apple Television. That a first, historic first. Yes. And told in 2022 more than 2,000 LGBTQ stories. Let that digest a moment. This show is broadcasted at 8 p.m. every day and has over 20,000 viewers daily. The community surely needed a credible source of information and LGBTQ plus happenings from across the world. And Queer News Tonight has been fulfilling this need since 2020 successfully. It is a proud moment for all of us. History was made when Queer News Tonight launched this week, January 6, 2020. Thoughts? Queer News Tonight.
Love it. Where do you hear any stories? I mean, that's actually why I'm sitting at this table right now, is because when I saw Queer News Tonight and I saw the ad, I thought that's what, I was going to be on. And I really follow politics and I'm so interested in it. And I wanted to figure out how you can make a change. And a lot of the gay topics that are chosen for other shows and other networks, whether it's The View or whatever, they're typing in, queer news. And I'm sure that Queer News Tonight is coming up that is putting out all of that. So I feel like this show probably has a much larger reach than we even know and influence into other media organizations.
Look at you asking how can I, right after the Google search.
And I've been privileged to host
it's all marketing.
I have no idea what that's about.
But I will tell you what.
And I've hosted it a couple times, or been a co-host, and I really love that experience.
I was watching the report that you guys did, I think, yesterday on the Pride of the Americas, and a lot of that disorganization, and then this came up as one of the topics, and they just immediately came together for me. Is that, really you can get information in a lot of places, even queer information too. But when you guys go through the whole discussion, you end up leaving me with what I can do about it. That's where I feel lost on all other news, whether it's good or bad. I'm like, well, great, what can I do about it? And you guys will bring it down to, hey, that means go to Pride wherever the hell the location's going to be. That means if you're a vendor, stick with it. That means that you need to, vote in this direction if you don't want to see that happen again. So you take people from really the couch to a place of action. Well, if you're mad, do something. Don't just yell at us on the TV. And I think that's really the victory, is getting people into action from those conversations.
Have you, I think everybody has like a smart speaker at home, right? And I don't know if you've ever done this, but I have. What's the LGBTQ plus news of today? It won't give you shit. It will have nothing. Oh, Ellen quit 5 months ago. You know what I mean? That's what they'll give you. And,
you have to put the plus in there.
You have to put the plus in, right? So for me, I personally don't think that the show got any good till about October when this girl got on and she kind of switched it up. No, but
right about when I started.
Right?
Dang.
So, but here's the thing. I'm not into politics. I never was, right? And I am ashamed to say that I was one of those people that I was like, hey, we got gay marriage, I'm done, right? All of a sudden, this Cheeto-looking mother effer became, the leader of the free world. And all of a sudden, I had to sit up in my chair and go, oh my God, what's going on? All right. This was before I started on Queer News Tonight. And I told Al, I'm not a politics person. I don't know my way around this. Faye, you'll do fine. Okay. You will represent you. And that's exactly what I did, was represented me and my guiding myself through all this political shit that now is important to me because I want our rights to be improved, especially here in Florida. And I think that that's something that Queer News did. When I post about Queer News, I say, stay informed. If you want to stay absent from the LGBTQ plus world, you really can. Okay, because they don't give us these news on channel 4, 6, and 10. They don't. You know, they hardly do it on Fox unless they're bashing us.
Yeah.
You know, Queer News gave people that ability to see real life stories, not some bullshit that Fox makes up, that are happening to our community daily, good and bad. Not all the pretty stuff. Most of the shit is bad.
And people who are living it are commenting on it. So you can have a queer issue, but then you get the lesbian perspective, people of color perspective, Gen Z. You really go through and you get to hear a topic that's truly well thought out. And that's not usually what the news is about. Grab your attention, get the numbers from viewership, and then move on to the next thing. And you guys are there for the real story.
And, you know, I never actually thought about it until you just said that. Like with
Because you were the pretty lady at 2022, you said. I mean, we got that.
No, the queer news, that the only time you really get it is when we're being bashed on Fox News, because otherwise you would, I just realized that that's really the only time I hear gay or any drag queen or anything is being bashed on
Negative.
Fox News.
This
Yeah.
station's important.
Huh?
Welcome.
Yeah.
The good thing about in totality of it, although you know I've been involved in more of the social aspect, but the great thing about it is the visibility that eventually that we got to with the wonderfulness of our community, where we had Chef Josie, we've had FayWhat, we've had other folks in our community, and now the wonderful number of different perspectives that you all bring. This coming year alone has been so amazing. So kudos to Queer News Tonight, and I challenge you to not only go to that, to now focus on how gay and black look alike, how lesbian looks, how our non-binary siblings, and even Queer News took it to a next level and had a trans only, our siblings, give them a voice. And so I think that's important because we are often forgotten. You know, we just had an emotional moment where I'm not seen, but you all have now continued to work towards making sure that all aspects are being seen in this community. Because we are, if you go to any major city, any gay town, they focus on the privileged perspective. They don't focus on those of us who are forgotten, who they want our money from, who they want us to come in, and things that are important. So I think that as long as Queer News continues to do those wonderful things and dive into those heart-tugging segments, 30 years. Al, I'm gonna be your age. I'm right there beside you.
No, but you know, I joined in August 2021, so a little over a year ago. And I think what was most impactful, I think similarly, was those queer takeovers. I think it's on the screen right now. Is the first youth takeover, which I had the privilege of hosting. And
You were the first host, lead anchor of the first all-student Queer News Tonight edition.
and
During Don't Say Gay, the height of Don't Say Gay.
and this was right when it was really starting to pick up in the headlines, and this was right before I started getting more heavily into policy work. But it's been so impactful to have Al kicked out and have an entirely really having people who are heavily directly impacted by these topics and by these stories actually be able to talk about them and actually be able to lead these discussions is so impactful, and in a way that I don't think we've been able to see outside of Queerness Tonight.
A good throat and a trendsetter. Hey, Max, how you doing?
Hey, Max!
How you doing?
Before
Y'all
we
are
move
never going to
on,
be allowed to sit together.
We do take a moment to pause in the history
Yes.
of January 6th. A couple of quick notes in terms of the history of what we've done. First off, it's the only news show in the world, live daily LGBT news show. It came in this real upstart, and really in all intensive ways, it still is an upstart. But it's done amazing things. We've interviewed amazing people. We've had amazing people on the show. Dr. Fauci said my only and last interview before I retire is going to be on Queer News Tonight. I mean, it's a gigantic embracement. At the other end of the spectrum, we do 4 hours with Roger Stone. And when Roger Stone agreed to be interviewed and talked to, we couldn't do it in studio. He wouldn't do it. We had to go to an apartment that condominium that he told us at the last minute, here's where you're going to meet. It was in Fort Lauderdale on Los Olas Boulevard, and we show up. And I'm looking at all of these pictures on the wall going, gosh, this seems so familiar to me. And we sit down and interview Roger Stone, and we talk about all of these kind of things of the history of Roger Stone and his relationship with Donald Trump and all of the craziness that he had been involved in since Nixon. And I have the opportunity to say, we found this advertisement from the 1990s in a swingers magazine, and we think this is you. Was this you? Yeah. And find out in the interview he was a swinger, and he had advertised in a swingers magazine, and he and his wife were bringing gay guys in.
Oh, wow.
So
In the interview. Wait. I just want to finish. And so that happens in that conversation. And then the other thing that he was very famous for is walking shirtless in the New York Pride Parade. And it's like, what are you trying to tell everybody, Roger Stone? Are you gay? And ultimately get to that question. And he goes, no, I'm libertine, was his answer. And as far as I know, it's the only time that he has point blank said, I'm not gay, but I'm liberal enough to explore whatever because of my libertine thinking of sexuality. And I'm curious, who did you walk in the parade with? Because you walked with this beautiful woman who basically showed a lot of her breast in the New York Pride Parade in like 1992, something like that. And Al, don't you remember the Mayflower Madam? He walked in the New York Pride Parade of the Mayflower Madam. And yes. Mm-hmm. And I look on the wall, and then there's a picture. And where are we and what condominium? We're in the condominium of the Mayflower Madam in Fort Lauderdale and Los Olas. That's a big moment for Queer News Tonight and the LGBTQ community. Another thing that I think is super interesting is we started on January 6, 2020. We were not in teleprompter. Napoleon and all three of us were in a situation where we told Darr, we told the stories, and all we did was talk about the stories. There was no teleprompter because we didn't have the technology to do the teleprompter. And that picture that you're seeing right now. And when we did that in our start, we started on January 6, 2020. Well, something had basically broken the news 6 days earlier on December 31st, 2019. And that was the virus in Wuhan. And we reported on it and had no idea what was going to happen. We're very proud at Queer News Tonight that we went through the pandemic and reported on the pandemic virtually every single day. How many times did FayWhat report on how many people had died, how many people were infected?
And we were at separate corners. We weren't even sitting next to each other because of pandemic. So we came in with masks and had our own little separate cubicles.
And proud at Queer News Tonight that launching at the beginning of pandemic, Queer News Tonight never did not broadcast.
Yeah. Wow.
Ever. We broadcast completely and consistently all the way through the pandemic and reported every step of the way, and we're doing stories and stories and stories and stories. And it is a situation that we are very proud of because we did stuff that we're going to look back 10 years from now going, how was this possible? And we don't have the understanding of how significant it was because we're in the history.
We told our community to get vaccines. We told our community to vote. We told our community things that seemed logistically very responsible and easy, but to a lot of our community members had no other way to get that information.
And so not only that, what kind of just made me remember is Queer News Night held a debate that I just remembered I was a part of, that diverse voices of all of our community, of gay people, quote unquote, that was part of our community, the Trumpsters, and then us.
The gentleman who died.
And those folks, and after our
who
debate,
died of COVID.
And we went head on, the gay folks in our community, they're different letters. At the end, Queer News Tonight made us debate each other, not like each other, go tongue in cheek. At the end, we still hugged each other and said, enjoy your life.
Yeah.
Queer News Tonight made that happen. And so I kudos, because that would never have happened, at least for people like me, for me to be able to say I did that.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Well, we celebrate the history. Tomorrow we will begin the 4th year of Queer News Tonight, the only still live daily LGBTQ evening news show in the world. We've done the show for tonight. We hope you watch. It was quite good. Faye was sitting at the table.
Yes.
And so was Max. LGBTQ plus news is vital for our community and for the broader world as a whole. We have enough enemies at Fox News. Tucker, Sean, and Laura are loud. We need passionate allies. Happening Out Television Network, Queer News Tonight, and It's Happening Out are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. Our community needs your support. Like this broadcast and subscribe now to ensure the growth of the entire LGBTQ+ community.